Sports PSP in the building. Uh, First of all, hope you all enjoying your Monday. Man, the past couple of days has been pretty big regarding the world of sports. College football, such as primetime Deion Sanders leaving Jackson State to become the new head coach for Colorado. Of course, the college football playoffs, such as USC and TCU losing. I actually thought that, you know what, Ohio State and Alabama, both of them definitely deserve a shot for the college football playoffs. And unfortunately for Alabama, they weren't in. It was Georgia, Michigan, TCU, and Ohio State. I'll talk about that in a little bit. And of course, with the NFL, the matchup between Patrick Mahomes versus Joe Burrow, Jalen Hurts' performance against the Tennessee Titans, and a little bit more. And of course, NBA, the big news regarding Anthony Davis's 55-point, 17 rebound performance against the Washington Wizards. But first, let me talk about primetime Deion Sanders. Um, After yesterday's game, primetime announced, and he told Jackson State that he's going to become the new head coach for Colorado. Personally, I like I said before, I did a previous video on it on my YouTube. I have no problem at all with primetime leaving Jackson State for Colorado. It's a tremendous opportunity for him. Therefore, he's got no choice but to capitalize. And of course, Shador Sanders, Travis Hunter, they're going to go with primetime Deion Sanders because they're not going to stay in Jackson State for nothing. They're going to go to Colorado because, of course, the competition, the Pac-12, the exposure there, and, of course, primetime. And I believe Prime is going to do whatever he can to get 4 5-star recruits. It's going to take him some time, though, but eventually I do see him putting Colorado as a legitimate contender. But that's a story for another day. But it is a sad day, nevertheless, for HBCUs. They're definitely going to miss out a guy on Primetime's cachet and his results. He won multiple conference championships. He was 27-5 as a head coach there. He gave half of his salary to the university, to the program. He did a lot of great things for Jackson State and, of course, for the state of Mississippi. One of, if not the poorest state in America. So I'm not going to blame Prime at all for the opportunity there. He has to capitalize on this opportunity. Go for it. You got to go for it. Time's the one thing you can never recapture. These opportunities, they don't come often. So I wish Prime nothing but the best. As for Jackson State, I was thinking, who should they really think about getting a head coach? And the first person that I actually thought of was Brian Flores. Now, do I think he'll do just as good of a job as Prime? No. He doesn't have that aura like Prime does. He doesn't have that type of swag or personality that Prime Time does. But I think he would be an adequate replacement. I do think he'll definitely get those players to play hard. I mean, it's better to have something than nothing. So I wouldn't mind Brian Flores becoming a head coach at Jackson State. But I don't know how y'all feel about that. You can comment on the section below. And of course, with the college football playoffs, I got to be honest, folks, TCU did not deserve to be in the college football playoffs over Bama. Everyone's going to talk about Bama's 2 losses against Tennessee and LSU. But TCU should have won that Big 12 championship game against Kansas State. And you blew that game. I'm sorry, you blew it. You blew that game. And I think Alabama was duped. They were wronged because I would have loved to see Georgia versus Alabama again. That's what a lot of people would love to see. I would love to see Georgia versus Alabama or Michigan versus Alabama. And for Roll Tide, Crimson Tide fans, they were duped. Period. End of story. They were duped. And some people didn't want Bama to be in the college football playoffs, particularly Georgia fans? Could it be because maybe, you're probably afraid of Bama? Is that fair for me to say? Because you want to put yourself in the best position possible to win another national championship, second consecutive time? Could that be a reason? No, who knows? And of course, USC losing to Utah. USC, I actually thought they were going to win this game in the Pac 12 championship, securing them a college football playoff spot, and of course, Caleb Williams winning the Heisman Trophy. With this loss against Utah, they're out of the college football playoff picture. And as far as with Caleb Williams, despite the loss, does this hurt his Heisman chances? I think he'll win by default because he's one of, if not the most exciting football player in college football. I mean, I would love to make a case for CJ Stroud from Ohio State, but I can't ignore the loss against Michigan. Drake May, I can't make the case for him as much as I love Drake May, but he struggled in games like Georgia Tech, North Carolina State, 2 home losses against unranked teams, and then I can't ignore the loss against Clemson in the ACC championship game. So I can't make the case for Drake May. I would love to make the case for Hendon Hooker, but at the same time, he was gone due to injury, and no one can forget the loss against South Carolina and against Georgia. That's on his record or resume. And the TCU quarterback, you could make a case for him, but I don't know. I mean, people are going to look at the Big 12, the defense, blah, 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 and the Big 12 championship game against Kansas State. That was his chance, and he blew it. So I think Caleb Williams, by default, will win it because LA, USC, their history. He's probably right now one of, if not the face for college football, not only for this season, but also next season, and definitely in the discussion next year for the Heisman. And, of course, the 2024 NFL Draft, supposedly the number 1 overall pick, or the projected number 1 overall pick in the 2024 NFL Draft. Let's talk about some NFL real quick. The Kansas City Chiefs versus the Cincinnati Bengals. Everyone wanted to see the rematch between Patrick Mahomes versus Joe Burrow. Because Joe Burrow the past couple of times has had Patrick Mahomes' number in the regular season and the AFC Championship game last year. And Joe Burrow, yet again, beat Patrick Mahomes. The Bengals won this game 27-24. Joe Burrow is now 3-0 against Patrick Mahomes, and he's so far has gotten Patrick Mahomes' number. And Patrick Mahomes, look, does this loss hurt his MVP chances? No, I still think just for now, he's still the leading candidate for the MVP. Although you got to look out for the Burrow, and of course you got to look out for Jalen Hurts of the Philadelphia Eagles. But Patrick Mahomes currently still leads the NFL in passing yards, passing touchdowns. He does have the narrative. The Kansas City Chiefs are still 9-3. They're leading the AFC West. Right now, they're second in the AFC behind Buffalo. And the narrative, look at what he's doing without Tyreek Hill. And look at Kansas City's roster compared to Philadelphia's roster. Philly has a better team collectively than Kansas City. So, I just think Joe Burrow, no matter what, he's going to get the job done. No matter what, Joe Burrow's going to get the job done. He has that swagger. He has that confidence. I just knew that the Bengals were going to win that game. Because as long as you have Joe Burrow at quarterback going up against Patrick Mahomes or whoever, you're going to find a way to win. The best thing that the Bengals have to do for Joe Burrow's career, just protect him. That's all you have to do is to protect him. Jalen Hurts, speaking of MVPs, Jalen Hurts, he was phenomenal in yesterday's game against the Tennessee Titans. 29 of 39, 380 yards, 3 touchdown passes, 1 touchdown run. Man, he is clearly the best quarterback in the NFC East division. He has been playing outstanding. This is his best football we've been seeing. And the question, the knock with the Philadelphia Eagles has been about Jalen Hurts. Could he actually throw the football consistently? Well, so far he has this season. And if you just look at his numbers, I mean, they are more than impressive with Jalen Hurts. And definitely the additions of Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown does make a significant difference. Really does make a significant difference for Jalen Hurts' career. He's ninth in the NFL in passing yards. He's about a few yards shy of 3,000. He's tied seventh for touchdown passes. He has 20. He's second in fewest interceptions. He's only thrown 3. And he's fourth in the NFL in QBR at 69.2. Jalen Hurts has been playing phenomenal this year, and he deserves a lot of credit. He definitely deserves to make the Pro Bowl this year. Also want to talk about some other games. Miami versus San Francisco. Big win for San Francisco, but unfortunately it came with a huge loss. Jimmy Garoppolo, he's out for the rest of the season. The Carolina Panthers have released Baker Mayfield. So, and also the 49ers, they've just signed Josh Johnson, I believe from the Denver Broncos. So, what should the San Francisco 49ers do? Should they actually take a chance at Baker Mayfield, given the fact that he's out there? But Baker Mayfield, over the past couple of seasons, he's played awful. He's played awful. Cleveland decided to move on from him and decided to get Deshaun Watson and pay him $230 million. And on top of that, Baker Mayfield was benched for P.J. Walker and then later on Sam Darnold. So if you're San Francisco, do you take a shot at Baker Mayfield? Honestly, do you really think about taking a shot at Baker Mayfield? Because no Trey Lance. Trey Lance was their future. He got hurt in week 2, out for the rest of the season. You still had Jimmy Garoppolo. You still had a chance. And then sadly, Jimmy Garoppolo, he's out for the rest of the season due to injury. So now either Brock Purdy at quarterback, Josh Johnson, or you go with Baker Mayfield. Say whatever you want about Baker Mayfield. He does have experience in the playoffs. He did win a playoff game against the Pittsburgh Steelers. I understand that was a couple of years ago, but he does have some experience. And who knows? Some people believe that Baker to San Francisco could actually work because of Kyle Shanahan and the talent he has around him. If the 49ers decide to take a chance with Baker Mayfield, I hope for Baker's sake it resurrects his career. Because his career at this point right now is down. It's down. It's going down, 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 down. This may be it for Baker Mayfield. If Kyle Shanahan decides to give him a chance in San Francisco, and if he fails, this might be over. This might be it for Baker Mayfield. His career is over. So, I don't know. It's too risky for me to take a shot at Mayfield, given what I've seen from him recently. So, I'm probably going to have to do another video on that. It's a very tricky one. So that's really tough on that one. And then one last subject for the NBA. The NBA news, Anthony Davis, 55 points, 17 rebounds last night against the Washington Wizards. This is what Anthony Davis can do. He is clearly a top 10 player when he plays like this. And we saw what he did Friday night, nationally televised game, ESPN, at Milwaukee against Giannis Antetokounmpo, the Greek Freak, the 2-time league MVP, former Defensive Player of the Year, former NBA champion and Finals MVP. And against Giannis, 40 points, 10 rebounds, 3 blocks. Anthony Davis has been playing magnificent. His best basketball since 2017-2018. That was when AD was a MVP candidate, top 3 MVP candidate. James Harden won the MVP that season. It was James Harden 1, LeBron 2, Anthony Davis like 3. But Anthony Davis has been playing his absolute best basketball. And when he plays like this, he's showing everybody he is a top 10 player. And this is also why the Lakers had no problem trading Josh Hart, Brandon Ingram, Lonzo Ball to New Orleans in exchange for Anthony Davis. Because they're trying to win now. They're trying to win a championship. And this is the guy that they needed. And if he plays like this and if he could stay healthy, AD's definitely going to be in the conversation for Defensive Player of the Year. And he should definitely be in the conversation for MVP if he continues to play like this and if the Lakers turn around their season. So that's all I got to say regarding sports, folks. I wish I could continue. I will try to do as much more content as possible. But aside of that, it's your boy Sportspsp. Enjoy the rest of your Monday. Enjoy the Monday Night Football game between the New Orleans Saints versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Enjoy. And as usual, God bless.